I almost laughed when I first heard someone predict XRP could hit $10 soon. It sounded like pure hopium until I saw a chart pattern from 2017 repeating almost step for step. Now my skepticism is turning into cautious excitement, and I need to tell you why. So, welcome back to the channel. My name is Nick, and well, I have been holding XRP since early 2020. So, trust me here. I want to know if XRP, can hit $10 and whether it is actually on the table like people say it is. So in this video, I'm going to take you on a personal journey through a rather strange 4-phase pattern in XRP's history that might be unfolding once again right now. So by the end of this video, you're going to see why this isn't as crazy as it might sound. Now, how I'm positioning myself, and why I'm even running some crypto nodes on some phones to stack even more XRP. And of course, what I'm doing to prepare just in case this explosive scenario does indeed come true. Here's a quick shout out. If you haven't already, join our free educational Discord. That's where we kind of nerd out about all of this stuff together. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so picture the crypto market about a week ago, right? Things were looking pretty shaky, right? Bitcoin was down a fair few points. Ethereum was down a bit too. But XRP was actually quietly up about 1.5% for the week while everything else had slid. Now it's currently hovering around that kind of $2.40 to $2.60 range per coin. And of course, I'm recording this about 48 hours in advance, so the price is probably a little bit different for you guys right now. So sure, right, at the point of this recording, that is down about, a little bit, about 13%, I guess, since early October. So it's not like we're in a full-blown bull mode at the point of this recording. But seeing XRP hold firm here while the big boys fell kind of got my attention a bit. It's kind of like XRP was saying, hey, I've got some strength right here. Now in a market where Bitcoin drops 3%, Ethereum dropped 1%, XRP being in the green is actually a little signal that something might be brewing. Now, around this time, I stumbled on a chart analysis by a chart guru named Crypto Lika. Now, he basically segmented XRP's price history, or entire price history, into kind of 4 distinct phases. At first, I thought, oh great, another grand theory, right? But as I kept reading, my eyebrows went up. This wasn't your typical Moonboy post. It was rooted in actual historical data. Now, Crypto Lika actually pointed out that the same 4-phase pattern played out during XRP's last major boom. And he believes that we're on, at least in the pattern again right now. And if he's right about this, then the final phase could send XRP into the 2-digit price range. Yeah, double digits, as in $10 or higher. So when I heard that, I thought that's a bit of a healthy kind of mix of excitement and, of course, skepticism here. I mean, $10 would be a pretty massive jump from where we are, over 300% gain, right? But I also remember that people are calling for $10 in XRP in the past, and it, well, just never really happened. So I had to dig deeper to see if this prediction had any real meat to it. Let me take you back to a time, or at least in time for a second, because the year is 2017, and I wasn't on YouTube back then, but I was definitely watching the crypto markets, kind of kicking myself for not buying more XRP earlier on, right? Now, XRP was trading for mere pennies, practically asleep for many years. Then suddenly it woke up, phase 1 of the pattern. Now, Crypto Lika kind of highlighted, it started actually way back in July of 2014. From 2014 to early 2017, XRP was in a rather long, quiet consolidation. It was boring but rather important, because despite the boredom, XRP kept printing higher lows. Think of phase 1 as the spring that is coiling, the years of pressure just building up, price not really doing much on the surface, but the foundation was being set. Then came phase 2, around March of 2017. Boom. XRP finally broke out of its range. It shot up about 7 cents by May of 2017. Now I know 7 cents sounds laughably small right now, right? But back then, that was a pretty big move for XRP. That quick kind of rally, it signaled that something had changed. Phase 2 was like the spark that lit the fire, even though it was relatively short-lived. Next, phase 3 kicked in by mid-2017. XRP had surged to about 40 cents, which was huge progress, but then it stumbled and fell back. From May to November of 2017, XRP went into another consolidation, hovering in the kind of 20 to 30 cent range. Now, if you were around then, you might remember the frustration that, another false start, more sideways grind. This was the fake out phase, shaking out the weak hands. People who thought XRP's run was over probably sold during that lull, not realizing that that was actually, well, at least what was around the corner. Because then came phase 4, the grand finale of that cycle. Now, in late 2017, XRP, at least late 17 into January of 2018, XRP, it did absolutely go ballistic. Right? We're talking about a rally from around 20 to 30 cents to over $3.30 at its peak. Right? It kind of felt like an overnight, XRP became the talk of the town. That phase 4 was a 1,642% surge in just a matter of weeks. Insanity. I remember my phone blowing up with alerts and friends asking if they should buy XRP at $3. Seriously, people were FOMOing in at $3 plus. It was that kind of euphoria. Of course, if you know the history here, that peak in January 2018 was followed by a brutal bear market. But that's a story for another day. The key point here is XRP's 2017 journey can be neatly sliced into 4 phases: a long, quiet climb, a breakout, a fake out pullback, and then a face melting rally. Now, why am I rehashing ancient history? Well, it's because Crypto Lika and others believe that it is happening all over again. Fast forward to today. Now, according to this 4-phase framework, we might be standing at the threshold of a new phase 4 right now. Here is how the current cycle maps out. Phase 1, this time around, started after March 2020's crash. If you recall, March 2020 was rough, right? The world went into kind of crazy market tanks and XRP crashed to around 11 cents. Yes, 11 cents. A lot of people wrote it off, not myself, I was buying that dip. But from that low, XRP began a long climb upwards. Once again, higher lows over time. Through 2020, 2021, and 2022 into 2023. XRP mostly just bounced between 30 and 70 cents, right? With the 2021 high being 196. Slowly just building momentum. And hey, full disclosure here, this was when I started accumulating XRP quite heavily. Right? It wasn't glamorous buying at, 11 cents, 17 cents, 30 cents, waiting through endless months of nothing burgers, but I believed in the project and the risk reward. Now, looking back at the kind of period, it fits phase 1 kind of perfectly. Multi-year, ascending trend line, quietly accumulating, the spring coiling tighter and tighter. Right? And we also had the SEC lawsuit drama during that time too, which kept XRP somewhat suppressed, right? But that's finally in the rearview mirror now. Come November 2024, phase 2 arrived. XRP suddenly broke above the $1 mark for the first time in years, and then zoomed past $2. Now, I remember that rally rather well, because it was validation, vindication, after such a long wait. Kind of like all of that built-up pressure from phase 1 finally released. It wasn't just XRP either. The whole market was heating up, but XRP's jump was special for us holders who kind of toughed it out during the darker times. Phase 2 gave a glimpse of what XRP can do once the handcuffs come off. It was thrilling, but again, relatively short-lived. Then, earlier in 2025, we got our phase 3. XRP climbed higher, nearly touching the $3 region at one point, and I think $3.66 at one point. Spirits were of course high. Then wham, the market took a hit. XRP slid back down to $2, maybe even touching $1.25 on some exchanges during that whole liquidation event. And we entered another consolidation, didn't we? Right? That's basically where we are as we speak right now. XRP has been range-bound and choppy, hovering around the mid $2 level for quite a while. Sound familiar, right? The fake-out phase all over again. The part where some people get bored or discouraged. And I've seen comments like, XRP is dead money, nothing is happening. And I get it, right? The waiting game is pretty tough. But if this 4-phase pattern holds true, then this boring stretch could be the setup of an explosive phase 4. According to Crypto Lika's analysis, once phase 3 wraps up, and it might already be wrapping up as we speak, phase 4 could launch XRP upwards in a major way. He speculates a run towards $10, which would be roughly a 308% gain from the current price, around $2.50 40 something, right? So 300% is pretty huge, but it's not as outlandish as maybe many are hoping for in crypto terms, right? I mean, who remembers the last 1,600% in phase 4, right? So if anything, some might say $10 is conservative based on previous cycle finales, right? Could it overshoot that? Possibly in a blow off top scenario. Could it underperform that? Of course, nothing is ever guaranteed, right? So hearing $10 XRP, it does set off my internal BS alarm just a bit, because I've seen so many wild predictions come and go, right? So let me just be super clear here from my own sanity and for yours too. Now this might shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, now that we got that important disclaimer out of the way, yes, we had to do it, let's talk about the possibilities and the signs, because there's no guarantees here, right? But patterns in charts can be pretty spooky, but they're never really 100% prophecies, right? The value is recognizing this 4-phase thing is, what it is, and that it can give us a bit of a framework for what might happen, so we can prepare and not be too caught off guard if it does actually repeat itself. And honestly, there are a lot of indicators around XRP that do feel like we're just at a pivotal moment here. Now, I'm not talking about this one analyst here, that there are multiple analysts actually buzzing about XRP right now. For instance, some well-known trader, 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗍𝗶, also pointed out that XRP's charts is showing some great signs of a rebound. Now, he even threw out some midterm targets like $3.63. More interestingly, he also said something that really stuck with me. Either XRP is going to explode imminently, or it is going to disappoint us. There is no in between. In other words, we're at a kind of make or break point here. The kind of binary outcome scenario that gives this week and next a real sense of urgency. Right now, this is kind of like the market is coiled up as the spring analogy all over again, right? And we're just waiting to see if it snaps upwards or completely fizzles out. Now, I can't speak for the market, but I can share what I'm doing about all of this, right? Because talk is cheap, right? It's actions and strategy that truly do matter. Now, first off, I'm holding onto my XRP bag rather tightly. I didn't hold for 5 years to just bail out now, right, before the potential big payoff. However, I'm also not going all in or YOLOing my life savings on leverage trades or anything reckless like that. You have to stay rational here. Now, my plan is basically be ready and stay calm, I should say, right? Be calm. So if XRP really does start flying off here, I have a plan to take some profits on the way up. And if it doesn't happen, well, I'm going to keep doing what I always do in these quiet times anyway, accumulate a little bit more here and there, and look for other ways to grow my crypto holdings. Now, one of those ways, and my regular viewers will know what I'm about to do here, is called a project, at least is a project called Unity, right? Now, this is something that I have been experimenting with. It's part of how I'm staying productive during these long waiting periods. Now, let me just break down what Unity is real quick. Unity is essentially a system that lets you turn your smartphone into a mini crypto node as a part of a larger decentralized telecoms network. The idea is pretty wild. You install the Unity app on your phone, and it makes these verification calls to help audit the global telecoms network. By doing that, you actually earn some crypto rewards. So yes, basically what you're doing is you're just finding out if there are some dead spots within the telecom sector, whether the call qualities are good or bad, and it reports all of that directly to the World Mobile chain. Yes, Unity has been founded by 2 companies. It is World Mobile and Minutes Network, and it's like they had a baby called Unity. And it's pretty wild, right? And yes, you can literally turn your old phone into a crypto earning node, just sitting there on your Wi-Fi, or better still, using 5G or 4G. See, I found out about Unity a little while back, and I've mentioned it in many videos, so it might not be new to many of you guys. But here is my latest update. I actually did buy a Unity Masternode NFT, and it did come with 200 licenses that allows me to connect up to 200 phones and to participate and earn. Now, I'm not setting up 200 phones all in one go. That would be crazy, right? and I'm not going to do that. But, I am starting with 10 phones to see how it runs and, if it runs as well and as advertised, right? And if it does, then I will just scale it up gradually from there. Now, the cool part is that you actually get to choose which cryptocurrencies you want to be paid out in, right? It's not some new token. You can choose to be paid in Bitcoin, Ethereum, ADA, and yes, XRP. Why those? Well, it's because actually those are the cryptos that I have high conviction in. So I'm looking to accumulate more of them over time, passively stacking more of them, right? It's kind of like staking or mining, but you're using your smartphones to actually do some solid work within the telecoms sector, $1 trillion industry. Now, why am I telling you all of this? Well, I'm telling you this because it's something that I am personally doing. But you know what? You should do your own research on this stuff too. Unity's concept is super innovative, but it also might not be everyone's cup of tea. So if you're curious, then I'll put some links in the description down below for Unity's light paper, their rewards calculator, so you can read up about how it all works and all that kind of good stuff. Check it out, crunch the numbers, and if it makes sense for you, then you can do your own decisions, because I'm not a financial advisor. I can't tell you what to do. I'm just telling you what I am doing. And just to be clear here, I'm not saying that Unity is going to make you rich or it's going to be any of that, and I'm not hyping it up. It's just a fun experiment and a way to support a decentralized infrastructure while accumulating more crypto on the side. I've been transparent about my Unity journey, and if you do jump into our Discord, you're going to find a whole bunch of us talking about our own results and setups. One more thing when it comes to Unity, I did actually buy a second and third Unity node beyond the one that I'm actually using for myself. Why? Well, because I noticed that some people in the community were interested in the concept, but they didn't want to basically have the hassle of running 200 devices all for themselves. And, I can't blame them. It is quite an investment, right? And it is a sizable task to manage all of those devices. So I'm setting up a system to lease out some of the extra licenses that I've got to people who want to dip in their toes into the Unity world, but without the hassle of having to deal with 200 devices. So if you want 10 devices, you could just lease 10 licenses from myself, for example. That way they can participate with just a couple of phones or so and, not have to deal with all 200 devices. Now, I have more information about how all of this works on the Discord or in the Discord. So essentially, if you haven't already joined the Discord server, the link is in the description below. Essentially, you'll be able to use a license from my node, run the app, and earn some crypto rewards, a portion coming back to the channel here to support. We're looking for something like a 90-10 split, 90% to you guys, 10% to support the channel, and hopefully just pay back the cost of the actual node that I purchased. Again, all the details are provided if you are interested, so do check out all the links in the description. It's just a neat way to go and build the community and get more people involved in this kind of passive crypto environment. Anyway, enough about Unity. It's a side quest. It's not the main story here. So let's get back to the XRP story. So as we anticipate this potential phase 4 rocket ride for XRP, another thing that I have been doing is making sure that I have my exchanges and accounts all in order here. Now, this might sound rather boring, but it's actually a crucial thing to do before everything goes nuts, right? Just imagine XRP does pop $5, $7, $10, whatever, right? And you might want to take some profits or move some funds around. And the last place that you want to be is stuck in a sign-up process waiting for KYC on a new exchange because your go-to platform suddenly has crashed or overloaded. Now, my strategy is to have plan A, plan B, plan C. I'm already signed up, verified, and even done some test trades on multiple different exchanges. Now, obviously, these are big ones: Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, many others, as well as some smaller ones like BitGet and Blowfin, right? Now, I've used BitGet and Blowfin quite a bit for some leverage-based trades. Anyway, I do have affiliate partnerships with all of the exchanges that I do personally use, and I just ignore exchanges that I do not trust myself, things like FTX. Now, if you're interested in all the exchanges that I do personally use, then I have put a link in the description down below to my website where I list all the exchanges that I have accounts on and that I personally have tested and trusted. And those links on that website, they're all affiliate links, which means if you do use those links to sign up and trade, it does actually support the channel here at no extra cost to you. And I did want to mention that to say a big thank you for anyone who does use those links. But it's totally up to you, and obviously you want to be prepared, in my opinion. Whether you use my links or not, just get yourself set up on a couple of reliable platforms is kind of the point. Think of it like having multiple escape routes and exit doors in a rather crowded theatre. You hope you're never going to need them, but it's good to know that they are there. Now, speaking of exchanges and being prepared, I've got to tell you about a very special offer that I've arranged with the team at Kraken. Yes, Full disclosure, this is through my affiliate link, which means it supports the channel at no extra cost to you. But Kraken actually reached out to us, and we've partnered up to hook you guys up with a nice little bonus. So if you sign up with Kraken through my link that's in the description below and trade $100 or more of any crypto excluding stablecoins within 30 days of opening your account, and yes, that includes spot buys, not leverage buys or anything like that, or leverage trading. Spot buys do indeed count. Then Kraken will actually drop you $25 worth of XRP into your own account. That's free XRP. It's basically Kraken saying welcome aboard with an XRP cherry on top. Now, this is a limited time deal, so if you've been thinking about getting set up on Kraken, now is probably a great time to do so. Again, you're going to find a link in the description down below and on our website, along with all the full terms and conditions, because it's very important that you do look at those terms and conditions. Things like, setting up your account and making a $100 trade, excluding stablecoins within 30 days. And it's also important to note that not every jurisdiction is going to be eligible for this particular reward. So do make sure you pay attention to the full terms and conditions. It's also worth noting that this is something that Kraken is doing independently and is not affiliated with YouTube in any way. Now, I'm genuinely excited about this because it's not very often that we get a promo that is specifically giving out XRP. And whether XRP is $2 or $10, stacking a bit more never really hurts, right? Just remember that any exchange sign-up bonus or affiliate link, use it to benefit you. If not, there's no worries, right? Now, I want to be very transparent. It helps me out too, and it is very much appreciated. All right, let's zoom out and reflect on everything for a second here. We've got chart patterns hinting at history repeating itself. Analysts on Twitter feeling rather bullish, and my own strategies to capitalize what might be coming, and even some side hustles with Unity and exchange offers to keep things interesting. What do you make of all of this? To keep me, at least to me, I guess the biggest takeaway is this: be prepared and stay level-headed. Maybe crypto, and XRP specifically, is truly on the cusp of a face-melting rally. Maybe the next few weeks will have us all glued to the charts as XRP blasts off towards that $10 holy grail. Or maybe it takes longer. Maybe there's another curveball in the market and we have to wait a few more months. Who really truly knows? The point is that I'm not going to let excitement turn into reckless euphoria, and I'm not going to let caution turn into fear or paralysis either. If you've been in crypto for a while, then you know that it's a roller coaster. And if you're newer, well, buckle up, my friend, because XRP's story is one of the one full of wild swings, big promises and gut check moments. And yes, occasionally it delivered some payoffs. Now, I can't promise you that we're going to hit $10 and it will definitely happen, no, but I can tell you that the signs are about as good as they've ever been. We have technical patterns aligning. We have improving fundamentals. We have a community that's been through the ringer and is still here learning, building, and sharing ideas. That matters more than most people think. Markets are made up of people, and conviction has a way of showing up on the charts long after the sentiment shifts under the surface. So here is how I'm thinking about the next stretch. Right? If XRP starts pushing through its upper bounds of this current range with strong volume, well, I'm going to be watching key levels. First, reclaiming the recent local highs with conviction. Second, how price behaves around the $3 handle if it gets there. Third, whether momentum cools off or keeps accelerating. Now, I don't need to predict every single candle here. I just need a plan for each scenario. If it rips, I'll scale out small slices at pre-planned levels and keep a core long-term bag that I won't touch. If it stalls or rejects, I'm fine to wait, dollar cost averaging modestly and reassessing. There's no hero trades, no panic, and just a process. And yes, part of that process is practical housekeeping. My accounts are funded and functional across multiple different exchanges, and I'm, not going to be scrambling if one has a hiccup during a peak traffic moment. Now, I've tested deposits, withdrawals, and small markets and limit orders, just so I know that the rails actually work when I need them to. I can't stress this enough. The time to test your setup is before the volatility hits, not during it. Whether, at least we've seen, I guess, what happens when people and everyone, I guess, tries to do the same thing all at the same time. Queues, delays, and ultimately missed opportunities. Community-wise, I'm doubling down on where the best signals live. That's our free educational Discord. Right, we've got threads and chart setups, macro notes, and on-the-ground updates from people actually placing trades and running experiments like Unity. It's not an echo chamber there. We challenge each other respectfully, of course, share receipts, and admit when we're early, late, or just plain wrong. Right? If you want a place to stay sharp and avoid tunnel vision, then come and hang out with us. It makes a difference to have level-headed people around you when the market starts screaming. Circling back to Unity for a final word here, I'm going to keep my expectations realistic. I'll track the 10-phone test, log uptime, payout, cadence, and even the potential hiccups and with Wi-Fi or device throttling, right? If the data says scale, then I'm going to add some more devices to the trenches. And if it doesn't, I'll pivot or pause. And for those who ask me about trying it without buying a full node, well, I'll share the details soon on releasing the licenses through, my extra nodes, of course. Again, all due diligence comes first. Read the docs, use the calculator, and decide if it fits your own situation. On the promo front, that Kraken offer is a tidy way, I guess, to get another battle-tested account set up and snag a bit of XRP at the same time. Trade $100 of a non-stable coin within 30 days, and they'll credit you $25 in XRP. Simple, time-bound, and useful if you've been meaning to set up a redundancy account anyway. Now, if you choose to use the link on my website, it supports the channel, and I would like to say thank you in advance. But always do it only if it helps you out. Now, my broader advice stands, right? Redundancy matters more than ever when markets heat on up. But let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room one more time. What if the 4-phase pattern fails? Then we must adapt. Patterns do fail all the time. The mistake is being wrong, right? Or at least isn't actually being wrong. The mistake is staying wrong without a plan, right? If phase 4 doesn't materialize soon, then I'm going to keep monitoring structures, funding, open interest, and maybe even the momentum. And if we drift, well, I'm going to continue building my position slowly, improving my average where it makes sense to do so. Now, if we drop, I'll look for areas of prior demand and watch how these signs of exhaustion before doing anything crazy. I'm not married to any single outcome here. I'm married to my own process. If the pattern does play out and XRP runs towards those upper targets, remember, the hardest part is often managing the success. Euphoria makes people sloppy. That's when limit sells going to get cancelled, just to catch a little bit more, right? Risk rules get ignored and tax planning disappears until next April, when it's just too late to do anything. Now, don't let that be you. Journal your plan now, while your head is actually clear. Future you will actually be grateful. I'll end this video with a simple thought. Every cycle gives us a handful of moments that define the whole journey. Sometimes they're obvious candles. Sometimes they're quiet weeks where conviction is forged. I don't know yet which one we're living through, but I know that I'm going to act with intention when it reveals itself. I'm going to keep stacking knowledge, stacking readiness, and when it fits, stacking more XRP. Now, if you want to track this in real time with me, jump into the Discord, keep notifications on, and check the description for any practical resources that I mentioned. The website has all of the exchange links. The Kraken details are linked in the description below, and soon Unity licenses will also be available too. So, however this plays out, I'm going to navigate it together with a clear eyes and, of course, a calm plan. So if this video has been useful to you guys, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more useful hints and tips, I guess, and more updates on XRP coming soon. I'll catch you all in the next one.